So now we've got our rough logo sketches scanned in, we're going to have a go at working a few of them up. So start by opening up a new document in Illustrator. So you do that by going up here and go to File, New. We want it to be for print, because I think it's easiest to work them up, logo up for print first, and then we can convert it for the web afterwards. We'll go to A4, and everything else is set up as we want it. CMYK 300 DPI, that's all fine. So go OK. And then we're going to place in one of those logo scans, or if you used a photo, that's fine as well. So go File, Place, and then look for your folder where you've stored the file, and then just click on the file, and then down the bottom here you want to click on Template, and then go to Place. Okay, and then we're going to look at our layers. So we're going to go to Layers palette, Window, Layers. And you can see how it's brought that template in just here, and obviously it's knocked back a little bit, so it's at about 50% strength, so we can trace over it easier. And you can toggle on and off the visibility of that, which is really useful as we're going along. And it's also automatically created as a new layer that we can start working in. So I'm just going to blow this up a little bit, move that over. And let's start by just typing out the word. I'll make sure I spell that right. Okay, and to scale that up, you can simply hold down your Shift key and drag the corner. Okay, and then what you can do is go into Darfont, one of the sites I showed you before, or Font Squirrel, and you can see if there's any fonts that you think will work well for this. So I've done that already, and I've collected together a few, put them in a folder on my machine. So try a few out, and we can do that by going, if we go to Window, Type, and then Character. That brings us up a little palette here that we can test out different fonts. Put that to the side a minute. So let's try a few out. Okay, let's try one. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll actually copy the font a few times. You can do that just by hitting your Alt or your Option key and dragging. So let's try a few. Let's try another one. And try another one here. And obviously you can try this out with loads of different fonts. Okay, and I'm quite liking this one at the bottom because it's got a little bit of sort of slight quirkiness about it. So I'm going to go with that one for now. So I'm going to delete the other two. Obviously you can spend a bit of time experimenting with that. I'm just going to scale this down a little bit, and instead of doing it, I showed you that way before where you could do Shift and drag, but you can also use the numerical panel here, so I can just go try 32 instead, and that's actually not bad. You can probably remember before how we talked about the spacing and kerning, so we need to look at this now and see if we need to actually alter anything. I think it'd be much easier if we turn the template off for that. So you just do that like I showed you before in here. And looking at it, it's not too bad overall. But I think I'll just take a little bit of space out here and there. So I'm going to adjust the kerning between the U and the O. So I'm just going to try -30. And try the same between the O and the U there. So try -30 again. See if I need any more tweaks. Might just do a little bit, maybe -10 between the C and the O. Maybe a little bit between the U and the S. Let's try -20 there. Okay, you can keep tweaking and get it until you're happy with it. Maybe -10 there. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm going to put the template back on just by clicking the icon again there. So I think that's getting there. So what we do now is obviously we need to create this arrow. In order to do that, we really need all this text to be editable so we can get rid of the T. So you can change this text into shapes, and we can do that by going up here, go to Type, go to create outlines. And as you can see now, you couldn't actually edit that text because these are now made up of all little dots joining them. So I'm going to delete the T, but then I want to be able to line this arrow up with the top and the bottom of the letters. So to do that, we can use some rulers. So if you go to View at the top here, go to Rulers, Show Rulers, and then what we can do is drag these down. So I'll drag down one just the top of the letters there, and drag this one down to the bottom, and then we'll start creating the arrow. Now we're going to use the pen tool for that, and simply click down there and hold your shift, and that basically makes sure it's completely vertical, and press the button again, press the pen down again. And then at the moment that's a fill, it's a very, very small fill, so we're going to switch that so it becomes a stroke. But as you can see at the moment, that's not really thick enough. Let's go back onto the dark arrow. That's not really thick enough for what we want. So you can alter the thickness of the stroke either using the panel at the top here. So let me just show you. Okay, let's go back to normal. Or you go into the window, there's another little palette here. So let's try 5 point. That's probably a little bit too thick. Or it's not too bad because that's quite similar to the eye next to it. And then of course we need to make this the arrow piece. So I'd probably do that by, there's different ways you can do it. You can just use a pen tool, but I'd probably do it by drawing a square. Then if you go to this tool here, this allows you to pick separate points. Rather than picking the whole object, I can just select this one point here. So I'll do that, and then we're going to rotate it round. So let's select it again with this one, because obviously this moves the whole of the shape. Go on to Rotate tool. If you hold down your Shift key, that will let you rotate in 45 degrees, keep the segments of 45 degrees. So we'll do that, and then we'll grab hold of it again with the arrow. Okay, it's a little bit too wide. So what I'd do then is go to the open arrow again, which just allows us to do the separate points. Click on one of the points here, and then on your keyboard, do little arrows on your keyboard that you'd use if you were playing a game, almost like a joystick. I'd click the one that sends it sort of inwards. So maybe I'll do that two of those, and then do exactly the same the other side. Select that point again with the open arrow. 1, 2. Let's try that. So let's go on that with the filled in arrow to move the whole thing. Okay, that's not bad at all. I'm just going to turn the template off again for a minute so we can have a look. As you can see, it's not really lining up that well. So I'm going to select the top piece and this piece, and we're going to do some aligning on that. Now you've got the option to use the alignment tools at the top, or if we go into Window, we've got an alignment palette. So most things in Illustrator, you've got more than one way of doing things. So obviously you can do exactly the same thing down here. And then let's select both of these bits again. So we can do that by holding down the Shift key. And then I'm just going to move it over, again using the arrow keys. Just try and get a little bit more even. And I think I'm going to need to move that down to level it off. So let's try moving that down a little bit more. Need to work out whether we do want it to poke over the top or not. Now I'm still not quite sure about this arrowhead, so I think I'm going to try making it a little bit smaller and see if it looks better. So I'm going to do that by using the open arrow tool, selecting one of the points, and I'm going to go up to with the the keyboard arrows, which is what you'd use if you were playing a game on the computer. So hit the arrows twice upwards and once in. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the other side. Select that one point, up arrows, and then in once. And I think that looks a lot better. So we're going to go with that for now. Now I want to pull in the second word of the logo. So let's put the template on again just so we can see. And I want it to level up with both sides of continuous. So we'll pull some rulers in, just as we did before. Oh, there's one on the other side already, so that's fine. Let's move that over a little bit. And then type in the word improvement. Network. Now, obviously you need to choose a font for this, and I'd be tempted to stick with a variation of weight on what we've used here. So Perspective Sans, that was Perspective Sans bold. So I'd perhaps go for a regular here that's already come up. You can use different fonts, but make sure it's sufficiently different if you are going to go with that. So you might, for example, use a sans serif here and a serif face below it if you were going to try that, just to give it a bit of contrast. But if you're going to stick with something similar, stick with the same family typeface. So let's put that there. And obviously we need to check to see if the kerning and the spacing looks okay. So I think there's a few bits that need adjusting here. Definitely around the O here, so I'm going to take a little bit out of there. So let's try minus 30, maybe a little bit more still, minus 40, even a little bit more, minus 50, and the same here, minus 30, maybe. Let's start with that. I might even take a bit out between the P and the R, minus 20. Let's have a look. Okay, here again between the W and the O, let's go minus 30 and minus 40. Okay, maybe a little bit between the O and the R. Okay, now I think that could be tweaked a bit more, but I'll leave you to experiment on yours. And then obviously I need to make it reach this line here, so I can do that just by grabbing the arrow like we did before. Grabbing, the corner point and holding down the shift key, or you could use the type measurement here. Let's just check if that's in about the right place. Yeah, that's not too bad at all. Let's take the template off again. As you can see, that's sort of getting there now, I think. We could add in the strap line if we wanted, but for now we'll leave that. Before you were going to do anything with the logo, if you were going to send it off anyway, you'd want to change this to outlines, just in case the person on the other side hasn't got the font that you've used. But if you wanted to change a copy, you could always duplicate it here, keep that as proper text, and then go type, create outlines, just in case you want to come back and tweak it a bit more. So let's get rid of that for now. Okay, so I think we're about there. Now I tend to leave all the logos in black and white until I've worked up a few, and only then do I start having a look at potential colours. I think the problem is if you start working at colours at this stage, you get a bit blinded by whether you actually like the logo because of the shapes of a logo, or whether you like it because of the colours you've used. So stick to black and white, at least for the starting point, until we've got a few options together.